right, so let us start. Welcome everyone to the first ever UX design workshop that I'm conducting. I'm glad you all are here. So, something about myself. I'm Mehek, I'm a product designer, and I've been working in the field for more than 8 years now. And I've mostly worked with SaaS and B2B companies. You can call it a coincidence, or maybe that was the direction of my career, but it pivoted this way, and I've enjoyed every bit of it. So, originally, I'm from India, but I'm currently living and working in the Netherlands. And today we will dive deep into some challenges and strategies which are unique to B2B SaaS enterprise design. So, for example, creating seamless onboarding experiences, modernizing old legacy systems, and leveraging data. So, here I'm not only going to discuss theory with you, but we will also have a small brainstorming session that I've prepared to ideate together. So, in a nutshell, what is there for you? So, first of all, it's all about enterprise UX. We'll discuss how it differs from designing for B2C, and then we have an interactive brainstorming, and finally Q&A. I also received some of the questions in the form that I shared, and if you do have some other questions, you can just ask them. So, starting with enterprise UX, SaaS, B2B designs, does it sound scary? Actually, it doesn't have to be. So, if I have to sum up enterprise UX into words, it will only be data and user base. And that is exactly how it differs from B2C. So, uh, if you think about it, data is present even in B2C context. So, for example, if you're ordering something from, let's say, Uber Eats, so you have information of the restaurant, the food items that they're offering, the price, the delivery time, the discounts, and the information about the rider who's going to pick up your food and if it's available on the app or not. Everything is available right in front of you. Data is there in all digital products, right? So what makes enterprise products different from B2C? The answer is the privacy and sensitivity of data. So think about it this way: the data that we interact with on a B2C app, it is publicly available data. For example, menu of a restaurant. So a B2C app does not really need to hide the menu from the customers, because a menu is something that may also be plastered on the walls of that restaurants. It may be printed on a piece of paper. People may be carrying it away with them because it has all the information about the dishes and the pricing. So restaurants, they want to share that kind of data with everyone. So it is not secretive. But when we talk about enterprise products, so the data is very crucial to the companies because they protect it even if they have to pay for external product subscriptions. So there are region specific and sometimes industry specific regulations to protect that data. So for example, in USA, we have CCPA. In Europe, we have GDPR, the General Data Protection Regulation. The sensitivity of data is what matters the most in enterprise UX. And if you move on now to the user base, in B2C, the user of the app can be anybody. It can be a housewife, it can be a college student who's ordering food from the app, it can be a pilot or maybe a doctor. So even someone who just got a smartphone like a day ago. B2C apps don't need that much effort to onboard the users because the goal is short, right? So the goal is just signing up on the app and selecting what you want to order, paying for it, checking out. So the steps are like pretty straightforward. So they are further guided to choose the food they want to order, and if they click on the card, they have the payment option. So mostly the guide is also there. So if you're even if you're a new user on a B2C app, for example, in India, if you use Zomato or Swiggy, you will always find that you kind of know what to do next. So they kind of guide you through the app, and they will prompt you to make a decision fast. Like they will tell you, like, this discount we're applying only for the next few minutes. If you order right now, you get like 200 rupees off or something like that. So there is a guide that is always available. So this is hard to have in organizational workflow. So because the journey in a B2C or enterprise product is not as simple, so as designers, we have to simplify it, right? So when we speak about the B2B user base, so we are talking about people who are specifically trained to use those platforms. So they are not the people who like if you ask a housewife or a college student, maybe they will not be able to use a complex enterprise product because they need a proper onboarding flow. So people who undergo several days or weeks of training just to understand what functions the app can perform. So these are the users who have a basic knowledge of the app. And another difference is that B2C users are always mostly consumers. But in B2B, the user may not be the consumer. So this is something you have to understand. So it may be a case that company is making the decision of buying an enterprise product that they may not use at all, but they may outsource it to another user base. So think of it like this, like you are hired as a chef to prepare custom meals for a small team in a company, right? So you don't consume those meals yourself. The company buys you all the equipment or the raw material to help you make the food. But here, the company that is buying the equipment is not using it. So they're buying it for you, right? So you are using the tools, which makes you the consumer, but the company is the buyer. So if there is like your friend who's selling a refrigerator and the company buys the refrigerator from that friend, the company does not become the consumer. So the company here is like, buying it for a third person. So these are some of the differences between enterprise and consumer facing products. Moving on, designing for enterprise products. So it includes many topics and it would be hard to cover every one of them in this workshop. So I will only focus on 3 of them for today. The first one being optimizing the onboarding experience, data-driven design, and designing for localization. Starting with the optimizing the onboarding. By the end of this section, you should be able to learn what is an onboarding flow in a B2B context and how do you optimize the experience to make it easy and fun for your users. So, have you ever played video games? I'm sure you all have. There are many levels and new characters, introduced at different levels. There are complexities and rules of play that you need to remember. But you still feel excitement and happiness even though you have to remember all the details. So, have you ever thought about how does that happen? And the answer lies in the onboarding experience here. So, whenever you start to play any game, they will never tell you all the rules at once. They will never tell you what is in level 10, for example. They will always tell you, that you are at a first level right now, and they will maximum introduce you to level 2 to, kick your motivation. And in that information also, they make sure that you play the game, you learn it yourself, and you level up. So when you start any video game, it is always progressive. The first few levels are very easy. It's always slow and very interactive. They will guide you on every step. They will motivate you to play, and they will also reward you at every step. So they always introduce you very slowly to all the elements, and they will often ask for your confirmation to move to the next step. So video games also provide you with a safe environment to experiment in. So that is what we call a sandbox environment in enterprise UX context. So here the user does not lose any points for making any errors, but they do gain rewards and they do gain benefits for all of their achievements. So this is a kind of environment which is purely designed to motivate the users and not penalize them for their mistakes. So even if you remember like any game you've played in the past, I'm sure you may remember that the first few levels are always easy. They have very basic steps and they just move you to the next level with like a very little effort from your side. So even if you make a mistake, they always encourage you to move forward. And every video game will reward the players massively. By massively, I mean like, uh, yeah. So by massively, what I mean is if you play a game where money is the currency, you can notice that you will not gain like, $10 or $20. You always earn like millions of dollars in a game, right? There are millions of coins, there are millions of diamonds or something. So the reward is massive. So why this happens is because users or players, they always associate the numbers with happiness. So if someone tells you that your bank account is credited with $1 million, it will instantly make you very happy. That is what the video game players, the designers of the video games, they want to make the players feel. So they want to elevate the emotion in your brain where becoming rich is associated with happiness and satisfaction. So even if you are playing in a virtual environment, and it's a game at the end of the day, but you still feel happy by seeing millions in your bank account. So you feel happy when you see all those diamonds, And that's how they reward you in the context of enterprise products. So you can't give your users virtual dollars, unfortunately, but you can offer them incentives. Like if they complete a certain task or a module, they will get a coupon, and by collecting like a certain number of coupons, they can, buy a coffee for themselves. So they can upgrade their skills by maybe enrolling in a course, or maybe they get some academy lessons for free. And this is just an example I'm sharing because sometimes yeah, you may need to get a lot of permissions and approvals from your higher ups to actually incentivize your users. Yeah, but of course, you can always do that by sending them congratulatory messages, by uplifting their motivation. If they make a mistake, just don't make them feel like they've made a mistake. Always offer them the solution, or the next steps that they can take. So you can also share something like metrics. For example, you can tell your users like, hey, you are the top 1% who has completed this task. So all of these small metrics, they help motivate your users, and sharing statistics and numbers always makes people happy. And the SaaS product that has one of the best onboarding, in my opinion, this is my personal opinion, your opinion can differ. I personally love Slack. So, Slack is the communication channel between employees and colleagues in many companies at this point. So, it has become an industry standard. And the thing is, Slack was never this easy to onboard. The users did not find it that easy to onboard previously. So right now, what is happening is if you go to Slack website, they will just ask you the name of your company, what project your team is working on, and maybe your work email ID, and that's it. And they just let you in to the company environment. But it was never the same. It was never this way. So now Slack has just a few questions to onboard you, right? But they achieved this by actually doing the 5-second test. So in the 5-second test, you're supposed to present your website or your landing page in front of a couple of users and ask them just one question. What did they see here, and what do they think they can do here? So the answer to just these two questions is enough, and it will help you understand if the landing page is intuitive or user friendly, or if the flow is complex and it's hard for the users to get started, or if they are becoming anxious because they have like a big form to fill, they have so many steps to complete. So all of these answers they can give you in the 5-second test. So Slack actually optimized their onboarding flow using the 5-second test. Now, the three things we can improve through an optimized onboarding flow are increased product usage frequency. So, users will become more confident in using the product if they are onboarded well. The second is the feature adoption rate. So, when the users are confident about using a product, they are more likely to explore new features. And if you launch any new feature, the adoption rate will become higher. The last one is reduction in support tickets. So when the users can handle the platform by themselves, they will be more confident in resolving their own issues, and that will lead to reduction in support tickets. So these small metrics, you can remember them because you might, like, this is a hint I'm giving you, you might need them in the interactive brainstorming session we have today around the end of the entire workshop. After onboarding flow, the next part is data-driven design. So in this section, you will learn what is data-driven design and how do you enhance your enterprise products design through data. So here, meet Martha. She recently started her maternity photo shoot business, and she works for multiple clients at once. And she is dealing with a lot of data, like information of the clients, the location, appointments, details, special requests or their preferences. She is using different tools right now to communicate with her clients, to keep the information sorted, to edit the photographs, send them the photos after the shoot. Now, she made just one tiny mistake, but that cost her a lot. So, one mistake in sending a wrong invoice to a client impacted her image and her business. And now she's looking for a tool where she can keep things sorted, communicate with her clients, take their requests, but most importantly, not screw up. So now, meet Pixify. This is managing her data right now. So Martha does not need to worry about messing up because this is a tool she trusts. The trust comes from data-driven design. Pixify sold itself to her through their features that automate a lot of processes. For example, allowing the potential clients to fill forms and questionnaires, collecting the information on her behalf, syncing up her calendar to keep the appointments on track, allowing customers to book appointments without the need of rescheduling due to busy timelines, and finally creating and collecting invoices, right invoices on behalf of Martha. So now she doesn't worry about her data being messed up. This is one example of data-driven design, and the second example here that I can share is a thermostat. So this is a device that I think most of us already know about. So in Western countries, this is used to regulate the temperature inside the home. So a thermostat actually shows you real-time data. For example, outside temperature, the weather, the temperature inside the home, the humidity, and the thermostat inside it. You can choose and customize a lot of things. For example, you can change the temperature of your house, and or maybe you can schedule that, at night it drops by 1 degree automatically. You can have some sort of special conditions, like if you're going on a vacation, you can remotely operate your thermostat, drop it down so that you don't receive a high electricity bill during your vacation. And there are ways in which a user can also override the temperature manually, and thermostat will automatically adjust to the new settings. So this is exactly what data-driven design is all about. Design that is based upon users' context, design that can be personalized as per the user's requirements, and a data that goes through feedback loop, and data that allows the users to make quick decisions. So through users' context, personalization, feedback loop, and quick decision making, data-driven design can be optimized. And the 5 metrics we can analyze through data-driven design are, the first one is NPS score. So if you have ever conducted any surveys, you may already know about Net Promoter Score, which tells you about the satisfaction level of your users. The second one is contract values. So it's another metric in B2B enterprise, the companies mostly. Contract value is of a high importance. So it tells you about how expensive a client is. So if they have an annual contract value in ACV of like $1 million, that means that client is paying $1 million to your company annually for the services that they're providing. The third one is time since last login. So the time since last login will tell you about how active the users are on the platform. A declining rate here means users are becoming inactive. Maybe they are looking to cancel their subscription. So all of these are like signs of a negative, like red flags, you can say. The fourth one, engagement drop off. So this is another metric that talks about at what point the users are dropping off from your platform, and using this data you can analyze what is wrong, whether the onboarding flow is not clear enough, or maybe the steps are too complex. So you really have to see like what point are they dropping off at. And the last one is contract renewal timeline. So this metric tells you about how confident your customer is in your product. The customers who are loyal are more likely to purchase a long-term plan. And now the last section is designing for localization. So here you should be able to learn what does it mean by designing for localization and how do you actually do it. This is Japan, a country that is culturally different from the rest of the world. If you think you can simply translate a Western application and launch it in Japan, you are wrong. This is exactly what Uber Eats did, and of course, they failed. Uber Eats launched the translated American version of the app without considering or researching enough about the local users or their behaviors, and they thought that entering a market is simply a translation away. So I took this case study from uxresearch.jp, and it was a very insightful one. So in the image on the slide, you can see this is the onboarding, or you can say the landing page of Uber Eats app, which is partially in English and partially in Japanese. They not only confuse the users, but they actually sideline those users who are not that fluent in English. And doing that in a country where Japanese is the first language, it's really dangerous. I mean, of course they were bound to fail. And the second thing, the mistake that they made is, so this is actually the second screen. So the screen, the image that you see is a combination of 2 screens. The first one, where there is partial English and partial Japanese, is the landing page, and the second one is, I think, where they were trying to capture some information about the users. So they did that with, they messed up with the addresses as well. So in US, to add your address, you need to add your house number, your street number, and then the street name, and then followed by a state or a zip code. But in Japan, addresses are written in a different way. So they are written in a descending format, with the largest unit first, followed by the smaller units, and finally at the end, the house number. So you see the difference. So first in US, they always ask you for the house number or the apartment number first, but in Japan, that is like the last thing that the users are used to entering. And you know when they were designing, like for the way they messed up with Uber Eats is like they asked the users of they asked the Japanese users to enter their house number first, and most, like, it confused the users because they were not used to writing their address that way. And this exactly is what designing for localization means. It does not mean that you just translate an app and hope for a success. So when you're designing for localization, you have to keep in mind a lot of small details. You have to talk to the users to understand their behavior, purchase patterns, and what kind of mindset they have while they're ordering something online, or like how they interact with the web application. So in Japan, mostly the addresses are written with the postal code first, and mostly postal code is the only thing that they need to find you, to locate you, and maybe like the house number or the apartment number. So Uber did actually realize their mistake, and they overhauled the entire application. They fixed a lot of things and relaunched, but still they are facing a massive competition by the local food ordering apps, which is of course expected. So the three things we can improve through localization are negative feedback patterns. So if you localize your product in the right way, you are uh, more likely to receive positive reviews from your users. So I think this is pretty self-explanatory. Declining usage trends. So declining usage trends is all about how the usage of your app declines after, like, if it is not localized, people will just uninstall it, maybe unsubscribe, and maybe because they find it very hard to use. If you localize it, there's a high chance that usage trend will rise again. And the last one, support ticket escalations. This is also pretty self-explanatory. If the app is not localized, customers will complain about it and raise more support tickets. So this can be improved through localizations. And now, moving on, I have a lot of questions from you that I will cover. The first one, I have tactical issue of not getting it to the closure, just iterations and multiple iterations. This is what design is. Design means to iterate and to iterate and to improve. So design is never really finished or complete. And that is how the nature of design is. I think if you are stuck in a loop of iterations, I think you are in the right, you're learning the right thing, the right way. User research, usability, and design feedback in a B2B SaaS startup. Okay, since this is a startup, so maybe you have to rely strongly on some loyal users and speak with them regularly to understand their perspective. User research can be difficult because there may be less number of users, or maybe they don't have direct access. You don't have a direct access to them. For example, if you're selling a tool to another company, and that company is also like changing the tool, personalizing it in their own way, and then selling it to their users. So maybe in such a case, you don't have a direct access to the end users, but you can always get approvals from your higher ups and reach out to the users, once in like 3 months or 6 months, just to conduct like one-on-one interviews with them and present the feedback to your executives. So the first time it would be really hard to get approvals, I know. But once you have, done this, and once you present the feedback, I'm sure the approvals will become much easier. Rather, your executives will find a way to conduct research sessions more frequently. Pivoting into B2B SaaS without prior experience. The first thing you need to show to a potential recruiter or a hiring manager is that you can work with data extensive systems. So data is one thing that differentiates B2B and B2C mostly. So your ability doesn't lie in just creating UIs or visuals. So you can also handle messy, complicated, data heavy platforms that have many tables, forms, fields, messed up information, because cleaning up data is also a part of your job. So you may think that it's all the boring stuff, but that is what the challenge is. You have to make it interesting for your users. So I would suggest that you should research about some B2B tools that you can find online and that are free to use, and then use them. See what changes you can make to them, how you can improve them, create mock case studies for them, and present them like a story in your portfolio, and you will definitely, have a chance. So even if you can't do a proper user research, because reaching out to B2B users can be tricky, so you can become a user yourself, and see what changes you can suggest and make new versions of the platform for your case study. Designing for complexity while maintaining aesthetics. How do we focus on scalability when SaaS business has lots of timeline crunch? How to reduce onboarding interface training for user base through design? So one way to, like, I will talk about the aesthetic part first. One way to do is through design systems. So when you have established design system in place, maintaining aesthetics becomes very easy. So I'm not saying it's not work. It is definitely a lot of effort to build a design system first. But once the design system is in place, the scalability becomes relatively easier, and the effort is consistently reduced. So same way, you can focus on scalability through design. So even if the company adds a line of products to the existing ones, if they expand the existing products to contain more domains, more features, more options, you can still rely on design system to provide you with that scalability. And when it comes to reducing the onboarding training, I already shared some ideas in today's workshop, where you can reduce the number of steps or reorder the steps or have the users follow them in their own time. So you can make the onboarding less complex, less time consuming for them. So users should not feel like they have a lot to do right now. And that is where your skills as a designer come into play. Understanding user issues without being able to connect with them directly. So this is challenging, because I will never suggest you to go without research. So even a small research is much better than just assuming things on your end. So assumptions are not reliable because they contain a lot of bias. That's what I personally feel. And especially if they're coming from you as a designer, you will be always biased towards your designs, and you will want people to just use whatever you're suggesting. So you can rely on your assumptions too, but yeah, don't do that. If you're able to like connect with even one or two users, just do it. You will get a lot of clarity, I'm sure. So whoever the buyer is, just get in touch with them for a session, if session with the users, if that is possible. If it is still not possible, then you can just send out a survey, or maybe just a short form for them to fill. So I'm sure that should not be too hard for you to achieve. So my answer here is, just uh, don't sideline research. Like, don't think that research is not important. Like, it is really, really important. Making design meaningful in a B2B environment. So yeah, the meaning of the word meaningful is subjective here. In what way exactly do you want to make it meaningful? It totally depends, because the general rule of thumb is to make your designs easy, understandable, and to make the complex workflows feel like a breeze for your users. If the task contains too many steps or the workflow is complicated, so you can fragment it into smaller pieces and small milestones for your users to complete. So I think that is one way to make it meaningful. Yeah, the next six questions are generative. No problem, Snehal. I'm glad you're here, and I'm recording this session, so even if you joined late, you can watch it later. Generative AI in design, usability in AI, how a designer can identify the better UX patterns than AI generative tool, how we need to keep updating ourselves to match the industry standard. So I personally see AI as nothing more than an assistant who can help me do my job better. So when it comes to identifying UX patterns or even ideating solutions for a problem, AI may be better than humans, but ultimately it's humans who need to give it prompts and commands to generate the results. So we need to be smart here. So let's not see AI as our competition, but just see it as your assistant, a friend, or maybe a helper who can make your work better. So, as a designer, what can never be replaced by AI is the empathy and the humanity side. So, a machine may make better logical decisions than you, but it can't think about problem with emotions. That is where you, as a designer, as a human, you step in. So to update yourself, I will suggest keep experimenting with all these AI tools, see what tool generate what kind of results. So for example, I always use ChatGPT, Claude, and Perplexity, three of them, to generate content. And there is a difference like in the results of all three. So I just see which one is good in which perspective, and then I use the result from that one. So it's you who has to decide, which tools you want to use. So industry standard is also changing, by the way. So right now, industry standard is Figma. 10 years ago, it was Sketch. 10 years later, it may be something else. You don't know. So, yeah. How do you handle stakeholders with difference in opinion? This is challenging, and this is where your communication skills come into play. And if you are a good communicator, then you can gather everyone together in a room or maybe in a virtual space and conduct a workshop, have them express their feelings, become a good listener, listen to their opinions. Maybe your opinion also changes after the meeting. So you should be open to all kinds of responses. So just because we are designers, it does not mean we have the best solutions for every product in the world. So there are people who are working in certain niche industries for like, 10, 20, 30 years, and they surely know more than us. And our job is not to stand against them to defend our designs, but our job is to work with them, to stand beside them and see how we can improve their ideas or how their solutions can be tweaked to have a better outcome for our users. So ultimately, as a designer, your products should be usable for your users. You should not like think of the entire thing as you versus me versus them. It is like you all for your users. So you can create a win-win situation for everyone, become a team player, and you can manage your stakeholders very well. Industry experience, switching from UX to product. So the switch is not that hard because product is an umbrella under which UX design falls. If you are a UX designer already, so you know how to make things intuitive for users, and you know about usability, laws of UX, and all the theoretical knowledge, right? So for product, you apply that knowledge and don't just think about the users this time, but also keep in mind business. So think about the revenue models, how your company is making money, some things that we also discussed in the workshop today, like the contract values or the user retention, the contract renewals, or maybe retaining the existing customers. So all of these are a part of the revenue model of the company. So that is how they are making money, right? So it is important to sign up new users in a B2B context, but it is equally important to retain the existing ones. So that is where your skills of product designer come into play, and that's where you can suggest features or changes to retain the user, sign new contracts, offer them incentives, make them loyal customers, and you can think about all the scenarios. Design system and maintaining it in B2B SaaS. The design systems can be complex, they can be hard to maintain, can be very time consuming because B2B SaaS companies may have more than one products to offer. So if a B2B company is providing, for example, car insurance to car dealers, health insurance to companies, and maybe home insurance to directly the customers, so they may have these three different products under one insurance umbrella, right? So they are catering to three different user bases, and they may still want to maintain consistency among their products. Like if they see, if a user sees the health insurance or the car insurance page, they should know that this is coming from a single company. So in that way, even the emails that they are sending to people should have like the company's brand laid out very clearly. So there you have a chance to unify the different products in a single design language. Maintaining the design language can be a little tricky because you will still have to localize a lot of things for different kind of users. So yeah, navigating as a solo designer in B2B SaaS. So it can be hard, but think of your team, executives, developers, PMs, everyone as your allies, as your friends, as I said. So they're there to help you, ask questions to them, reach out to them with your queries, and don't work in a cubicle all by yourself. Be visible, have workshops, conduct meetings, take the ownership of product that you have. Think of it like your own startup, something that you would want to take forward. So I understand it may not be possible for a lot of designers because sometimes we are not paid that fairly for our efforts, and we think like, why should I care that much? But the thing is, you can, while you are in this particular job, this is all you can do, right? So why not learn it fully? So learn it inside out, like grab it like like grab everything like a sponge, go to the depth of your industry, your niche, and just learn as much as you can do that while you are in that job. So your salary may not increase, but your learning, nobody can take that away from you. So once you are out of this company, maybe in a few years' time, you will get more money in some other company and maybe more experience, on your resume, but you will never get to learn anything about this particular industry 5 or 10 years later. And maybe you have more experience, but you'll still think that, oh, you missed out on a lot of learning that was there in that previous company you worked in, and you were working so close with the executives, with the C level. You could have learned so much more, but you just missed out. So absorb everything you can while you are there. Yeah, and come out of this job as like a master of your niche industry. And the last question, yeah, how someone can learn the UX flows in a product user journey, how someone can validate that, and how someone can practice it, how to validate that it can be developed by developers. Okay, so learning about UX flows from existing products, that is possible. For example, just consider a B2C food ordering app. We talked about it, right? So you go to the homepage, see the dish, you just place it in your cart, pay for it, and order it, and that's it. So this is a typical user flow that you are familiar with already. So in every B2B product also, there are UX flows that users complete to achieve a goal. So instead of landing on a home page and browsing through the food that they want to eat, the B2B users may have a task like import a list of emails as an Excel sheet in their tool. Then instead of adding the address on the food delivery app, they might be optimizing and cleaning up that data. And instead of paying for the order, they might be sending a bulk email to their subscribers. So this can be an example of B2B email marketing campaign drawn parallel with the food ordering app. And to validate your UX flows, you need to have something to offer first. So think of it like an MVP, a minimal viable product. And once you build that, you can conduct user research, usability tests to have your answers. And regarding the last statement, like how to validate it if it can be developed by developers. So let me tell you this, everything can be developed by developers. I'm not making this up because I once worked with a very talented developer like many years back in India, and I used to have similar questions as a designer, like like if I designed this thing, would you be able to develop it? And I was at the beginning of my career, I think. So he's the one who told me that there is nothing in the world that can't be developed, and I'm repeating the same sentence to you almost like 8 years later now. And at least at this point, when we also have a lot of help from AI tools and everything, so we should not be thinking on these lines. So it's not a matter of whether it can be developed or not, it's a matter of how. And a good developer will always find the way to develop it. So the how also can be framed around like how it can be developed in a certain time frame, how it can be developed under certain restrictions, or maybe in an ethical way considering the GDPR guidelines and with a particular strategy. And all those constraints, even if you consider them, even then it can be developed. So there's nothing that can't be developed. And now moving on to the workshop, let us start with the ideation session. So what I'll do is, I think if you guys have the link already, so you can just access the board here, and I will stop sharing this, and I will actually, yeah, I will present. All right, I see some of you are already there. Okay, can everyone access the board? I see I actually added names of the people who accepted the invite, but I'm sure there are some more people. So can you just, uh, if your name is not here, can you just add it to whatever team you want to add it? I see Sai Teja is a new guy actually. Hello Sai, you just, yeah, I'll add you here. And Tanya, you can come here. Who else remains? You are not able to access this? Oh, I shared the link in the chat, in the meet, this Google Meet chat. Did I miss anyone? So I think, oh, no problem. Yes. All right. Did I add everyone? Is there someone who can not see their name on the board? If yes, then you can just edit this one. I also want to see if you can edit it. Okay, I think everyone is here. All right, so let's get into the idea title. So, in this small brainstorming session, I've divided you guys into two different teams. So, we have to we have to brainstorm, a design for customer health score dashboard for a SaaS business. And to further narrow it down, let us just design a dashboard that predicts and prevents customer churn. So the terms might be a little confusing to you. And if you can scroll a little bit to the left, on top of all the sticky notes, there are three black notes in which I have added some context that we can read and we can try to understand what exactly is required here. So, just like doctors check your heart rate, blood pressure, and temperature to assess your health, it is typically a numerical value, between 0 to 100 can be a color rating also. So, this is one way of measuring your health. So similarly we have a metric to measure the customer health score for a SaaS company, So in the customer health, the three metrics that we measure is how long or for how much the customer want to stay with your product, so that is the retention rate. So and if the customers want to leave your product, that is the churning rate, and if they want to buy or subscribe longer to your product, that is the growth rate. So now let us assume that you are tracking multiple customers in your SaaS product, and suppose all of them are selling online e-learning courses. You are catering to edtech industry, and their health score might be calculated as a mix of three important metrics, usage patterns, business metrics, and customer support and satisfaction. So now how do we rate them here? So usage patterns can be 40%. So often, how often they log in, what kind of features they're using. The business metrics contribute to 30%. So what is their contract value? What is their payment history? Do they delay making payments? How much time until their contract expires? And customer support and satisfaction is again 30%. How many customer support tickets have they raised? What are their survey responses? Are they satisfied with the product or not? So here your primary users are the customer success managers and maybe the sales team. Right, so let's come back here again. So let's design a focused brainstorming session for a complex but relatable dashboard, which is a customer health score dashboard for SaaS business. To narrow it down, we have to design a dashboard that predicts and prevents customer churn. So here, the activity that I want all of you to participate in is you are divided into two teams, and as you can see, your names are there, and the questions here are exactly the same. So there's nothing different that's happening between the two teams. And the questions that you have to ideate or brainstorm on are indicated in red, green, and blue. So the red is what indicates that a customer is at risk. What shows a customer is healthy? This is in green. And the blue one is what actions should be triggered. So again, we have to narrow it down to design a dashboard that predicts and prevents the customer churn. We don't want our customers to go and join, subscribe to any other platform or join any other, buy any other product. So what you can do here is pick up any sticky note. Just make sure that you're using one color. One person uses one color, and you can start ideating your thoughts under all these three sections. So you can have more than one ideas, and you can have like multiple ideas under one question. So if you think that you can ideate about the customer risk, so what indicates a customer that a customer is at risk, it can be like low customer usage. That can be one example I gave you. So similarly, you can have more. Once you are done, so I will give you, let's have just 3 minutes for this. 3 minutes are, I think, enough to ideate on this. Once you're done, then we move on to the next small part. Yes. Yeah, for this, you can refer to the second black card. I will come back to it again. So let us assume you're tracking multiple customers in your SaaS product. And suppose all of your customers are selling online e-learning courses. So you're catering to edtech industry, and their health score might be calculated as a mix of these important metrics: usage patterns, business metrics, and customer support and satisfaction. So, yeah, all right. Okay, so I will start the 3 minute timer now. Unfortunately, you can't see the timer, but I will tell you when it's about to be up. So, one thing, I see that some of you have written multiple points on a single sticky note. So, can you just actually copy them to individual sticky notes, please? So, I see Sanjana, you've written like a lot of things on just two notes. Instead of that, can you just have, just have one point on one note? Yeah, thank you. Okay, so now the next part is uh, you just read the notes that your other team members have also written, and now you group the notes that sound similar to you. So this is where we generate themes. So in themes we have multiple you can say similar sounding ideas. So if I have to give you an example, yeah, so one of them is like reduced decreased login rates, something that I think Sai Teja has also written here. And Shivani from the other team, she has also mentioned the same thing. But unfortunately, you're in different teams, so you can't form theme here. But yeah, that is what I mean. If you have similar or like exactly same ideas, just group them together in this section underneath where we have themes. So the next 1 minute I think you can take to just move your sticky notes to the theme section and group them together. Just move your sticky notes, and yes. I think this can be moved with this one: low completion rate, low usage rate. The active usage of the customer is dropping can also come next to it. Reduce login frequency. Yep. Low CSAT, low NPS. Okay. This can be again together: low CSAT on low NPS, customer engagement satisfaction, healthy CSAT, and healthy. Yeah, right. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yes. Great. Great job. All right. So I see that some of you have actually written some very nice points, and we also see some themes building. All right. So, yeah, unfortunately, we are very short on time. I should have planned it a little better. Maybe have had less focus on the presentation part, and maybe have had some more time for the interactive session. But yes, I see that you have done a great job here. The next part actually is to vote. Every single member gets 3 votes. And you can vote on the theme or the group that you think is the most important to cater. uh, so this is for, this is mostly done when we have to prioritize some features. So we already may have, like 100 ideas in the pipeline, but of course we cannot develop or design all of those ideas at once. So we vote for them, we think about them, like which ones are the most important. So actually this is done on a grid or a metric, or like a matrix, but that would have taken a lot more time. So for the sake of this workshop and to just keep it a little bit simple, I introduced dot voting. So here you can just use 3 votes to vote on the ideas that you think are most important, and you think that should be focused on first. So at all points, at all times, we have to think about the prevention of customer churn. So we don't want our customers to leave our product and go to some other competitor. So which one is a concerning idea you think that should be addressed to reduce the customer churn? So you can vote on that. uh, I'm sorry, I have to end the call at a very abrupt notice here, but you guys participated in this interactive session, and I really hope that you learned something, if not a lot, from the session. So I will just end the today's presentation here. And if you have any more questions, you can follow me on my socials, or you can just send an email to me. So, will there be future workshops? Yes, and I will plan them a lot better than this one. This was my first experience as well, and I got a lot of learning from this. And the second workshop is already in line. We will conduct it soon, probably sometime in February this year. And in that workshop, I will cover designing for complexity, designing search first experiences, and designing for scalability and personalization at scale. So, thank you so much for joining me here, and of course also giving me some learnings for the next workshop. I'll keep all of that in mind. Thank you again, guys, for your time. I hope it was good for you.